It's a short story where a guy kicks his wife to the curb after finding out that behind the scenes she's been a sugar baby. In other words, she is hired by her sugar daddy and obviously to perform certain activities behind the scenes. But you're going to see in the story, this is a perfect example of once a cheater, always a cheater. And if you take back a cheater after finding out what they're doing, it is extremely likely, in fact, darn near guaranteed, they're going to do it again. And in fact, be even more brazen about it and more hurtful because of your weakness and knowing that, hey, he took me back, he ain't going anywhere. As well as you have to always pay attention to red flags, etc., etc. Titled, Cheated on by my wife, details in the comments, need support, please. And a shout out to Chris for sending this story. Oh yeah, guys, if you're on X, formerly Twitter, come check me out. The handle's SSM Channels. Really trying to grow it over there because they don't promote me much over here. Again, SSM Channels on X. Come join the growing community over there. Okay. It says, my wife cheated on me and lied to my face about it, the events until I eventually found physical evidence, photos, websites, messages, etc. At this point, she could no longer continue making up stories. She told me her version of events, which I still find very hard to believe, considering that she lied to my face and swore up and down that nothing was going on, and even got angry at me for questioning her. Right there. That sounds like your typical situation. The guy finds evidence, things don't seem right, he digs up evidence, and then they get mad and gaslight for dare questioning them, or dare going through my phone. The reason for my suspicion was because she went out one night after work and said she'd be home at 8 p.m. The last message I received was at 3:45, and after that I heard nothing until I was eventually blocked on everything. She blocked you? Man, talk about a pair on her for doing that. But I guess she knows there's no consequences. She gave me a false story that she had gone out with one of her female friends, which I knew, and that she told my wife to block me to see if I cared. Well, that I could believe a gal would pull that nonsense. Obviously, this was all made up story considering the events after this. In reality, she had a sugar baby account for 3 months, which I saw with my own eyes and read the messages. And why aren't you kicking her out right then and there and ending the marriage? She met up with this man on that same night, and she told me that they didn't have intimacy, but they did things such as made out, held hands, and hugged, all while wearing her ring and him being married. Yeah, sure, honey. That guy's paying you money so that you can hold hands and have him hug you. Sure. What a load of crap. I'm literally torn to pieces and don't know what to do at this point. My friend, what you do is call your lawyer. Or get a lawyer. It's over. You can't stay married to someone like this. Because if you do, guess what? She's going to keep doing it. And watch this. I'm right. I seriously tried my best to be a good husband. And while I wasn't perfect, I expected us to be able to have open communication as we had in the past. I really don't know where to go from here. My chest feels tight and it's hard to breathe. And no matter what I do, this event keeps crowding my mind. I can't make it stop no matter how hard I try. It hurts so much and I've cried so much. Whenever these thoughts enter my mind, I have panic attacks. I want this feeling to go away. I'm sorry, man. I mean, it's understandable you're hurting like this and betrayed and all that, but bro, you can either take away the pain by ending this situation or can stay with her and continue on. Well, watch what happens. Thank you, everybody, for the support. I've read everybody's comments as much as the reality of reading them hurt. I know it's the truth. Reading your experiences made me feel less alone and understood. I cried reading those comments and the hard truths. Bro, stop crying. Channel the hurt into taking action. He says, you guys were also right. I found out that they indeed did have sex that night, and she again lied about it instead of just being kissed. She also did plan on keeping it behind my back and continuing the situation. Your intuition amazes me. Brother, I know you're young, but it's not necessarily intuition. It's common sense. It's understanding human nature. That's why young people who think they know everything, it's amazing what they then learn when those older folks who've been around the block point things out. But people don't like to hear what they don't want to hear. I already scheduled an STD screening and we'll move on from here. As much as it hurt me, I let her go, and it's a void I know will take time to heal. I did have all the signs at the start of the relationship. She told me she had cam girl tendencies and had cheated on her ex, but she told me she changed, so in a way I blame myself. I appreciate everybody's comments and reality checks. Thank you. cam girl tendencies and cheating on her ex. Guys, I'd forgotten to mention this at the beginning. If a girl admits that she cheated on her ex or exes before, it is a very good bet, almost guaranteed, that when things don't go right with you, in her view, of course, instead of just communicating in a healthy manner or doing something about it or ending the relationship, she's going to cheat. And don't get me started about this cam girl tendencies. I mean, let's be honest, if she's having dudes pay her for sex, she's a hooker. And, well, now to his update to prove that we're all right. He says, in my previous post, I broke down how my wife had cheated on me with a sugar daddy. Eventually, she told me the truth and details. No, they didn't just hug and kiss. They did much more. Shocker, we all told you that. Well, I chose to forgive her, partly because I was not ready to be alone. And using someone as a rebound was not an option for me. Smack! I got no problem if you forgive her so you don't have hate in your heart, but usually the forgiving means taking her back. What do you think is going to happen? And I don't want to hear you can't be alone. That's the problem with so many guys have. They can't be alone. And they then have bad people in their lives because they don't screen them properly because they don't want to be alone. So I stayed with her. She fed me pretty lies. Eventually she did it again. Shocker. With the same guy. But this time she disappeared for an entire week. So it went from just one evening to an entire week. Why? Because he took her back the first time and she now knows this idiot will take me back. Look, I don't mean to be an asshole, but come on here, man. I tried calling her, looking for her, and she turned off her phone, gave it to the man, and kept the phone. He gave it to her. Eventually, she returned and told me everything that had happened. Yeah, because she's like, this guy won't kick me out. She says she chose to just go all the way with him because she didn't think I'd forgive her after what she'd already done. That's some hoe logic. This logic baffled me. Yes, hoe logic does baffle people. What about not doing it in the first place? Anyway, I was torn apart, took to drinking to numb my emotions, and didn't want to face the reality of what I had to do next, which was leave her once and for all. Yes, I know it hurts. Divorce is hell, but this is worse. I waited and waited, just pretending everything was fine and trying to be as normal as possible with her, but it was eating me inside. Then, once again, she disappeared on the weekend. Did it all over again. How much suffering do these people have to endure until they finally do something about it? At this point, I was done. I was numb. I couldn't feel anything, but of course it hurt. At this point, I decided to just quit drinking and focus on my career, self-esteem, and confidence. There you go. That'll help you out. And I left her on the back burner. I moved out and just focused on me. After the entire mess, she contacts me and says how sorry she is and how guilty she feels. I told her what she did was extremely selfish, and she never once thought about me or us. I told her we had enough money. Anything that a man gave her was miscellaneous. She broke down saying she was so sorry. And for a moment I felt sad and pity, but then I would remember what she did and how heartless and cold it would be. It took me a while to recover from this, but once I started focusing on me, it got better. And once she saw how my efforts for her were diminishing and I was achieving various goals, she started diving headfirst for me. But there's no recovering from that relationship. Good. So obviously he ended with her. Notice how he said, when this guy was a lot like a lot of guys out there, where they have the attachment to their wife or girlfriend. They don't want to be alone. They get treated horribly, usually cheating, and they stay and get hurt until finally they're done. And they move on. And they start working on themselves. And notice how I said I start working on myself, and I'm feeling better. That's what self-improvement does. That's what focusing on your grind, your purpose, not making your girl your purpose. And of course, because he's focusing on himself, she's now after him again. But he's like, nope, not happening. So even though he made me want to barf through 90% of the whole story, it ended on the high note. So gentlemen out there, you have a girlfriend that behaves in this manner, not necessarily being a sugar baby, but you get my point. End it. Do yourself a favor. Save yourself a whole lot of suffering. I know you think you'll be focused on the good times, and oh, she really does love me now. It's all about actions. And look what happened after you forgave her and took her back the first time. Then she disappeared for a whole week because she knew. She's thinking, this bonehead will take me back no matter what I do. Well, in the end, she was wrong. So I hope he learns from that. So there you go, gentlemen.